best. God damn these fucking Mexicans ruining my fucking show! Anyway.
He's got the leaf blower out now.
What the fuck?
I think they heard you in this.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Blue State Survivalist. Me and Aeroshogun are here to talk about the chaos that's ensued and that is going down across the country. But first, let me remind everybody, we're brought to you today by the Dollhouse, finest purveyor of dolls on the planet. If you're going to buy a doll, buy from the biggest, buy from the best, thedollhouse.com. Also, rocketheater.com, off-grid heating for your house, your hunting lodge, your cabin. You can burn wood, scraps. You can burn food. You can burn anything. Just make sure that you mention my name, Halsey, and you get $50 off your first order at rocketheater.com. We have a Subscribe Star. We have a Patreon. We have a PayPal link. We have a Streamlabs link. Please use them if you're going to donate and get exclusive access and help the show. Shogun, how are you doing today?
I feel awful, but I'm doing all right overall.
Well, the Great Reset is on, and now is the time. If you're going to buy guns, do it. I mean, seriously, I don't think we could have predicted this much chaos, huh?
Well, yeah. Although it's like no matter what I do, it's all life is always trying to knock me down, one way or another. Because I'm just now starting to get to the point where I can actually, afford to buy more weapons. Whereas before, 2020's been insane. It's not been a very good financial year, and it's like every time I try to maintain myself a weapon, most of the time something blows up in my face.
I mean, have you heard anything about the one that you lost?
Nope, haven't heard a thing.
Really? Did they just pay you off on it?
No, they haven't done anything like that as of yet. But that being said, do not fly Frontier Airlines. If they can casually just lose a bag with a gun in it, it goes to show you how much you can quote unquote trust them with your stuff.
A declared gun at that. Right? I mean, you had to declare it in your luggage.
Oh yeah. I declared it and everything. I went through the TSA steps and everything. But if you do have to take your weapons with you on a plane, my recommendation is to put a GPS tracker in your bag.
More than that, I mean, how did they just lose a package? Like, you'd think they would give some kind of extra security to a package that has a gun in it.
Yeah, well, Frontier is kind of pathetic that way. You see, I mean, they initially they'll show off as like being cheaper airline, but then they'll add on all these fees and stuff like that, and they'll say, well, we're still like a little bit cheaper than the other airlines, but frankly, you want competent service. Like, for instance, I never had an issue out of Southwest, never had an issue out of Alaska Airlines.
I mean,
even American Airlines offers more than Frontier. Frontier doesn't even have what's it called, first class. I mean, their customer service, it's like with the other airlines, you have someone at the airport 24/7.
Right.
Then it's like certain times. You could be waiting for hours and hours of massive line and just hoping that someone is just going to get there just so they can actually take care of you and check your bags and stuff.
I mean, it really is pathetic. But I mean, so what are you thinking about all the election stuff? I haven't had a chance to really talk to you about it.
Well, when it comes to election stuff, it seems like everything is not only just up in the air, but it seems like things could possibly go either way. Like, for instance, there was an executive order that Trump had created. I think it was in 2018. I forgot exactly what it was called. Because I linked it in the chat, and I'm sorry, this headache is killing me.
No problem.
Making it hard to focus on stuff. But anyway, it was about election integrity. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. So that being said, I think Trump was smart to actually initiate this executive order that not a whole lot of people knew about in case that something like this would happen. So Trump is actually going to actually doing his investigation, figuring stuff out. Frankly, I think all the states should be investigated, not just the so-called swing states, because I wouldn't be surprised if there was more fraud going on. I mean, for instance, in the states that are projected to be blue almost every year, because I came out of one of those states. Now, never in my life have I seen so many people say that they were going to vote for Trump in that state. Vote Republican in that state. Never. Everybody was strictly Hillary or Biden at first, but I never, because it still kind of baffles me how Joe Biden could get that many votes, more than Obama. I think that there's definitely some fraud going on. I mean, he couldn't get anyone to show up for his rallies.
So I think here's the thing. I think that, and this is like a typical Tim Pool comment, but I'm going to say it anyway, is that it's not about the fraud. It's about the irregularities. It's about whether can we trust what we're actually told, and that's really a problem right now. All of this fucking shit with the Dominion voting systems. The fact that the CEO of the company that made the software for it is now on the Biden transition. That as recently as 2017, their voting machines were used for fraud. You know what I'm saying? In Venezuela, yeah. That one of their managers of customer relations is now the mayor of a Michigan county that went heavily for Biden out of nowhere. Like, these are all real issues. And if they mean we can't trust the results of those elections, if it means that those elections are called into play, then it should be the obligation of the courts to overturn it and say that these electors can't be certified and it has to go to the House. But I don't have the full faith that that's what they're going to do. Also, Trump's legal team, as far as I know, hasn't produced the evidence in court yet. Like, we're hearing a lot on fucking Twitter and in the alternative press, but Trump's people haven't filed like all of this into a lawsuit yet.
Well, now I probably am not looking at this in the proper direction, but it seems to me like it may make more sense to compile everything and then just bring it all out there at once, because it seems like if Trump were to just bring things up one by one, then of course the CNN normie news is just going to say this is a conspiracy theory and this isn't really true. It's unfounded. There's no evidence of it. And I already know that they're already doing that now. They're calling Trump a conspiracy theorist and blah, blah, blah. Even though there was an article, I didn't get a chance to read it yet. I am assuming you may have seen it, where it was the Dominion software was the CEO or the developer, I forgot exactly who it was admittedly saying that he would make sure that Trump doesn't win.
That was the head of their programming department, and he's on Facebook and Twitter. He's an open supporter of Antifa. He's given money to Antifa, and he had said in like some Twitter posts that, "Don't worry, guys, I'm going to make sure that Donald Trump loses."
Yeah. Sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry, my sinuses are killing me right now. But what was okay, I forgot what I was about to say. But overall, but yes, I just don't. I mean, of course, I don't trust the integrity of the election. I don't trust the government or anything. I don't trust the Democrats, and I don't trust the Republicans either, or at least not to do what needs to be done.
You see, I'm in the same boat. Like, I mean, to me, it's a no-brainer. Like, why would you trust the integrity of this election? I mean, the steal has been on for longer than we cast votes. And this is something I blame Trump for. We knew 4 years ago that there was going to be all kinds of fuckery in this election. We've known about all the fuckery in the last election. We've known that the media is actively censoring anything that criticized Joe Biden. We know that, Biden didn't even have to bother campaigning most of the election because the media is just fixing it for him. What I'm
Well,
blaming Trump for is that all of a sudden he's making a big deal of it, after the votes have already been cast. Like this wasn't going to be a problem the whole time.
well, I think he was already saying that there was going to be a potential for voter fraud, but I think that was only with the mail-in vote stuff.
Well, of course, but I mean that's another issue. The Democrats back in December of last year had sent a letter to all of the states using Dominion saying they know there's going to be a problem. Dominion's not safe, blah, 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 blah. And now all of a sudden, now that it worked out in their favor, they're saying, oh, wait, no, Dominion's completely great.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I mean, we're really at a point where you just can't believe anything anymore. And a lot of people in the chat and a lot of people in general, they're saying that Trump's going to win. But I think we're approaching the same level of trust the plan. Like until we start seeing some victories, until we start seeing, something coming out in court, until something starts materializing, I don't know how we can say that don't worry, Trump's got this. Because every time we've said don't worry, Trump's got this, he really kind of hasn't.
Well, yeah, I definitely agree with that. As I think people put way too much faith in Trump as just one man and one person.
He's
It's like
one man,
it's like
he's
the
one
saying
person,
goes,
and he has no allies in the government.
right. I mean, it goes back to the saying, be the change that you wish to see in the world.
Right.
And
And that's well said.
Well, by that, you know what I mean.
I mean, it really is quite insane what's going on. And I mean, in the world, in the gun world at this point, I mean, talk about chaos. They don't even have to ban guns because you can't even find any ammo or any guns anyway in the stores.
Yeah, because the normies have been buying them up like left and right.
And why wouldn't they? And now it's with the chaos that's ensuing now, and they're talking about further lockdowns. They're talking Michigan is already locking down, Chicago's locking down, Pennsylvania's locking down, New York's locking down, New Jersey's has curfews and are preparing for another lockdown. California's locked down. I mean, they're going to do this. And people are freaking the fuck out. Like, listen, I'm not like a prepper or anything like that. I never have been. But at this point, like, I'm putting away food. I'm like putting away just to make sure that in case things get completely crazy, that I have enough to get through like a week or two in case supply chains get interrupted. I mean, you remember the last lockdown, you couldn't find fucking toilet paper. You couldn't find milk. These things just disappeared because, reasons.
Yeah, it was insane.
Right. And I think this time all of these companies that have been reeling since all this shit started, how are they going to keep up now? How is now going to be a better time to lock down? And I mean, back then, they at least the government got off their ass and produced, stimulus packages to help businesses and, people. It was minimal, but at least they got off their ass and did it. Now, there's no stimulus coming till at least January. Because they're not going to give Trump the win before he leaves office that he produced a stimulus package. And unless Trump pulls this off and stays president, they're not going to do it. They're going to wait for Biden to do it so they can get as many Democratic, freebies in it that they want. Because
right.
if Trump's president, first of all, we'll know the results of Georgia by January anyway. And there's a possibility they can control the Senate too. If Biden becomes president and they win both the runoffs in Georgia, they've got 50-50 in the Senate, which makes Kamala Harris the tiebreaker. So it'll be Speaker Chuck Schumer. And at that point, they'll just end the filibuster and do whatever they want. Everything will just be all we need is 51 votes.
Yep. Welcome to one party rule.
Well, at that point, listen, obviously you're just as big a proponent of, but at that point, when do we empty into the streets? Because at that point, if they have the House, the Senate, and the presidency, and we actively let them take it, they will immediately end the filibuster. They'll pack the courts. They'll make D.C. and Puerto Rico states, meaning that they'll never lose another election. And we know that in 2022 and 2024, we have nothing. We have nobody. Who do we have that replaces Trump in 2024?
Nobody. People. I get people saying that they want to see Tucker Carlson run or Mike Pence or whoever, but I don't believe they really stand a chance.
I don't either, to tell you the truth. As I said, my faith in the system is inherently disgusting at this point. And someone in the chat said, Halsey, the Republicans have won one of the Georgia seats, I believe. They have not. Both are going to runoffs that are going to be in early January. One of them is against a guy named Joe Ossoff, who's like basically another AOC. And the other one's against a guy named Reverend Warnock or something like that. He's a real fucking piece of shit. Like, he's an actual communist. Like, he openly says he's an actual communist. You know? And he's one of these people, like, he's a black preacher that just hates white people. Like, he says it openly. Like, everything that guides him is going to be about destroying whiteness. That's what he says.
Man. I mean, sometimes I hold back when I say this, but it's like, when it comes to this,
N-bombs.
black Christians are the absolute worst.
Okay. Just no
It's
dropping
like,
hard R N-bombs on stream.
I'm sorry, what?
No dropping hard R N-bombs on stream.
No, don't worry, I'm not. No, I have that much control. See, the thing is that I find it, because I've noticed this for years, and my dad used to actually sit down and talk to me about stuff like this. Because I noticed, because I was growing up in the church, especially in a black church, they talk about how much they're against like the New World Order, against 666, gay marriage, and all these other ungodly things that the government does and blah, blah, blah. Yet they vote for them every single time. They always vote for them. Why? Because the other side is racist, and Democrats are more for the poor and blah, blah, blah. When in fact, it's the Democrats that are keeping them poor. And when you bring this up, you can bring up all the statistics, all the facts, showing them how the Democrats are actually not only just worse for black people, but worse for the country in general. And they'll say, well, yeah, that's true. They say that neither candidate is the right candidate, but they will still say that the Democrat is the lesser of two evils, given that I can biblically prove to you that they are not, and they still just go along with it. So it's like, frankly, black Christians can be some of the dumbest people I've ever known.
But you know what? This isn't unique to the black community, right? Is you'll have, I mean, just take the Jewish community. The Jewish community will admit that Trump is great for Israel. They'll admit all of this stuff, but then be like, oh yeah, but he's Orange Hitler. And the Hispanic community, like if you talk to most Hispanic men, they're more based than we are. But in the end, they're going to vote their interest, and they believe that Trump wants to deport their families. I mean, it's been swinging harder and harder that Hispanics are going right wing. Like, but black people, they're very socially conservative.
Yeah,
you
very.
know, and yes, I understand the Gibbs speak loudly, but at the same time, like you would think that there would be more of a swing. But I mean, Trump got the biggest percentage of black voters ever, and I think it was 12%.
The 12?
Something like that, yeah.
I thought it was 30, but
No, he got the last election he got 8. It was 92 to 8. I think this time he got 12%. You know, so he's got the biggest percentage of black voters ever. I think he's got the biggest percentage of Hispanic voters ever for a Republican presidential candidate as well. And it was like 20% or 30% of Hispanic voters. So he also got the biggest percentage of Jewish voters with 30%. I mean, or 27%. But I mean, it's not enough. And this idea that Trump is getting slaughtered with white voters, he's not. It's only if you look at the percentages, because they're saying that by percentage-wise, he got less. But that's because of all these fake ballots. I mean, there's been so much shit that when you look at the macro picture, and if you're into statistics or if you're into, like, I don't know, general basic math, you say, okay, in every county across the country that voted, Biden did not exceed Hillary's vote count. Right? Except for those 4 counties in the swing states where hundreds of thousands of ballots showed up in the middle of the night out of nowhere just for Biden.
right.
Those are the only ones where he outperformed Hillary, and he outperformed her by millions of votes.
Right. And here's the dumb thing about it is that now I brought this up to people here and there, is that their common refrain, their common counter argument is to say that, well, Trump told the Republicans to vote in person, So you shouldn't be surprised that nobody on Trump's side voted by mail and blah, blah, blah. Now, the thing is that it was 31% of Republicans said that they were voting by mail anyway.
It's not just that. It's that, okay, let's assume that's true, right? That Trump told his people to vote in person, so they had a minuscule amount turn out to vote by mail. Okay? In the vote by mails that came in the middle of the night, the hundreds of thousands, not a single one of them was for Trump. They were all for Biden. Okay?
Right.
That is a statistical impossibility. It's impossible that not a single ballot came in for Trump. Not one. Out of the hundreds of thousands, not a single one. Also, in case you haven't noticed, this is also a statistical impossibility. Every single glitch, right? Every single oops, every single we found votes, all of them worked out in Biden's favor. All of them. I mean, you'd think like, okay, there's always going to be problems, there's always going to be issues, but you would think at least one would work out for Trump, that they'd go, oh, look, we found this glitch and took 10,000 votes away from Trump.
Yeah.
But never. They were all for Biden.
And on top of that, you notice how there's other people that are on the ballot. Now, I mean, of course, no George Jorgensen. She didn't stand a chance in hell of winning, of course. We know that. But notice how not even one of hers made it. They're all for Biden. I mean, the ballots that I've seen, the video with the ballots that I've seen where they're bringing them in by wagons and stuff like that. Notice, now, if I remember correctly, they didn't even come from a mail truck. They're just in wagons, like a van or something, and they're rolling them in at 4 a.m. So it's like basically all the election just did was basically just, calculate how many votes did Biden need to win.
And so that people are saying, doesn't Benson's law prove there was fraud? First of all, Benson's law isn't a law. It doesn't mean that every time you analyze statistics and apply Benson's law, it comes out true. It's a mathematical theorem, and there's many ways that it can be said that it's proven this model won't work. But the big thing is that they've done a couple of analysis on the state voting patterns, right? And as the votes are coming in, the patterns are identical in Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Florida, Georgia, Arizona, everywhere. The patterns are identical until they announced they were stopping the count, and then they didn't stop the count. They kicked out all the Republican observers and found the hundreds of thousands of votes for Biden. Those are the only time that those states varied from what's going on throughout the country. So you mean to tell me that every single place it looks pretty much the same, right? And then all of a sudden they say, well, we're stopping for the night. They shut it down. They kick out the Republican observers. They find hundreds of thousands of votes for Biden, and that's the only time that the voting patterns changed in those 4 states.
Right.
I
mean, you have what? Well, yeah, you have all these because people have been. I mean, of course, it's no secret that no dead people vote, and when they vote Democrat.
Of course.
Nowadays, you have service dogs voting. They'll take the name. This one woman, she had a service dog. The dog's name was taken and registered as like a university student, and then had voted somehow. She said she didn't know who the dog voted for, but it's obvious the dog voted for Biden.
Of course.
So,
I mean, I got 11 ballots mailed to my house, right? One for me, one for my wife, who's never registered to vote in her life because she could care less, right? Yet she got a ballot in the mail, and we have people like that lived here years ago that we got ballots for. Now, the process in New Jersey, the legal process is you're not supposed to throw them in the garbage. You're supposed to bring them to one of the ballot places and turn them in. Now, I did that, but who's to say they didn't just take those ballots, open them up, fill them out, and mail them in?
Right.
I have no way of following up. I don't know that they were destroyed because it's not like they took them and put them through a shredder right in front of me.
Yep. There's really no way that you can ever really tell.
And I'm sorry, but and maybe this is just my own cynicism or whatever it is, But all of this nonsense, like TFM was talking about this on Saturday night, and about the server that they supposedly seized in Germany that showed the true results. Right? Now, that's only been confirmed on one place. It's been confirmed on OANN by Representative Louis Gohmert. Now, the fact that he's a congressman, gives it instant credibility. But where is this story? Like, if this were true, like, this is some trust the plan, don't worry bullshit that really bugs me. Is that we know all of the fuckery that's been going on. There's so much of it that you can report on lots of true things that have happened. The statistical anomalies, the fact they kicked people out in the middle of the night and found hundreds of thousands of votes for Biden. All of these fucking scumbags that worked at Dominion. Their connections to the Biden campaign. Their connections to Antifa. Their proof that the Democrats were terrified of Dominion voting systems right up until they worked for them. That the Dominion voting systems has been used to fucking forge elections in Venezuela and a couple other places. Knowing all of this, why are all of this Q level nonsense coming out and people going for it? People are like, oh well, we just like what's her name? Sidney Powell, I think is her name. She was the one who said they have so much evidence they have to fucking go. It feels like it's coming out of a fire hose, and she said she's about to release the Kraken. Like, release the Kraken, to me, all I hear is trust the plan. I hear the echoes of Q coming out everywhere when she says that. Because if it's true, where is the evidence? Where's the fucking evidence?
Well, I can't tell you what they're thinking. But who knows? Maybe they're waiting for a certain time, which may not make any sense. Like, sometimes you just have to just release it. And I don't recommend, of course, releasing it to the mainstream news, because you find out that even Fox is not even on your side.
No, Fox is complicit. They're one of the worst at this point. But here's the thing. She doesn't have to release it to the media. She could just file it in a court brief. They have lawsuits. Like, where is the filing with all this information? Because she can say, release the Kraken, I've got so much evidence. But until we see it, how do we know it's real? Gumby91 for $10. Thank you very much. Going to be a first-time gun buyer here in California after I come back from working overseas. Is it better to buy an AR-15 or a Ruger Mini 14 or probably an AK? In California, it is better to buy none of those, because the restrictions on rifles in California are fucking ridiculous. Like, they look like Franken guns. And I'm sure you could get good training with them, but absolutely do not buy a rifle. Get yourself a handgun that you can use. Don't train yourself on one of those Franken rifles that they have in California.
That's if you can get a handgun. I hear that it's really ridiculously hard to get one there.
That's what TFM always says. He says he has a shotgun, and I heard getting a shotgun is easy. So if you're just talking about for home... Shut up, dog. If you're just talking about, for home defense, then maybe a shotgun will do you good. Get like a Mossberg 940 or something. But... Oh, yeah. So, Gouda Onion, did you end up meeting your goal? I'm still about 700 shy of what I need. I met my immediate goal last week when I put it out there, but I'm still about 700 shy. So, any donations you can give are very much appreciated at this point. It's really saving my ass. Kill Your TV says, an AK, buy accessories. So, look, I don't know what you can and can't do in California, but if you're going to buy a gun and then modify it so to make it illegal, then you're causing problems for yourself right away. And look, I'm not saying that you should comply with government mandates. I don't really care one way or the other. I'm just saying that if it comes down to you're going to buy a gun and then you have to start traveling to other states to buy parts and hope you don't get caught, and then if you use it in a self-defense situation, you're going to be in trouble. Like, even if they don't charge you with murder, which they very well might, like, if you put all the real parts back on it and then use it in self-defense, you might find yourself in a scenario where if you use it in self-defense, that they'll still arrest you for possession of an illegal gun, and you could spend years in prison for that. That happens in New York City all the time. Someone has an illegal gun, they use it in absolute self-defense, and they're arrested. They beat the charge of murder or anything like that, but an illegal gun charge in New York City is a minimum of 2 years. Can be up to 10 years. Depending on the type of gun. And they'll go to prison for 2 to 5 years. You know, so was it worth it when you could just buy an actual legal gun and use it in the same manner for self-defense? I would probably say it's better to just buy something legal and good if you're planning on using it in self-defense. Look, if you're planning on fucking going out to Idaho and joining a militia, then fucking leave California anyway. And you can get whatever gun you want. You don't have to worry about restrictions at all. Idaho's got some of the fucking best gun laws in the country. So does Arizona. So you're right next to two great gun states, you know, in California. I think Nevada's are pretty good as well. It's been a Democrat state for a while, but I'm pretty sure their laws are pretty solid, unless you live in Vegas. You know, so do that too. So, but California, I mean, if you've seen the pictures of these Franken guns that are out, like, I mean, they look ridiculous. I can't imagine how hard it is to train with one of those weirdo guns. Like, I don't know. Have you had any experience? Have you actually seen one of these weird guns, Shogun? I've never actually held one. I've only seen pictures.
I've seen a picture of one, but I've never actually held one myself.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't do it. I probably wouldn't, but like, we're restricted here in New Jersey. They have a list of like all of the attributes that define an assault weapon, and you can't have 3 of those attributes. Like 3 attributes make it an assault weapon and illegal. But my AR is fine. The only thing that was wrong with it when I got it was that it had an adjustable stock. Like that was number 3. So I just held it to my shoulder and found like the perfect spot for it, and they pinned it.
Well, what's the deal with the adjustable stock?
Huh?
What's the deal with an adjustable stock? I hear that's one thing Biden wants to ban on a federal level.
Well, he wants to reinstitute the assault weapons ban, right? And the assault weapons ban, I don't remember too much about it because it expired a while ago, and it didn't really matter for me here in New Jersey, so it wasn't important. But it bans certain types of weapons. The assault weapons ban bans the AR-15. It bans the AK-47. I mean, those weren't banned in the last one. There was just certain ones. But I mean, if we don't know what Biden's actually talking about by an assault weapons ban. He could mean that it becomes like New Jersey, where they ban certain guns by name. Like, I can't buy a Galil here. That's banned specifically by name. I can't buy a Bushmaster here. Like, that's banned specifically by name. You know, but all the other assault rifles that aren't banned by name, it just has to have the 3 attributes, and one of those attributes is a collapsible or adjustable stock. So if Biden wants to do it, I would think he'd probably do it that way. He would have a list of certain ones he bans by name, and then he would put the attributes out that if your gun has X attributes, like, it's considered an assault weapon. Like, one of them's a pistol grip, one of them's a flash suppressor, one of them's a collapsible stock, one's about the muzzle brake. Like, all of these matter. And obviously, like, he wants to put the ban on high capacity magazines, which he considers anything above 10 shots.
Yeah.
Which is the stupidest of all. But
it is. But, you know, stupid is, stupid does, for one. And the other thing about that is that I hear that he has plans to force you to register those magazines, where you have to get like a serial number and placed on them. You have to register them so the government knows that you have them.
Well, that's how they do the grandfather clause. Is that and they did that here in New Jersey for the assault weapons themselves, but in New Jersey you had to turn in your magazines that were above 10 rounds. That was just an absolute ban. But in some, I think California is even one of them, where if you had the magazines before the ban went in place, you can register them and then keep them, but you have to like pay a fee for registering them. So Biden would want to do that nationally for anything considered an assault weapon. So let's say he bans the AR-15 by name. If you already have an AR-15, you can keep it, but you have to register it just like you would on the the FNA. Right? Like, if you had a machine gun before the 84 law took effect, you could keep it. But you had to register it federally and pay $200 in order to keep it. You know? So he would do the same thing for assault weapons. That yes, you can keep them, but you have to register them federally and pay the fee that you have them. So, and I mean, the thing is and I've always said this, I admit that I think Biden is basically evil. I think that all people like who want to do things with guns are despots, basically. But what people say on a campaign trail and what they can actually do are usually two very different things. So now, as of right now, you have to remember the Democrats are saying they're going to nuke the filibuster. They're saying they're going, which if they do, everything's 51 votes. So if they have the House by one seat and the Senate by a tie, they'll be able to pass whatever they want, right? And do you really have the confidence that the courts will overturn them and that they'll listen? Like the Supreme Court of the U.S. has overturned Whitmer's in Michigan's lockdowns, and she just says she doesn't care and just does it anyway.
Yeah.
So
and there's that too.
Because on Biden's campaign website, if you go through the list of things that he wants to do, he wants to ban all internet sales of guns, ammo, and accessories. All internet sales. So, number one, that would decimate the industry in its ability to sell. Number two, he wants to make it so that he wants to remove liability protections from gun manufacturers. So that means every time a gun is used in a crime, whether legal or illegal, the victims can sue the manufacturer of that weapon and take them to court. Now, even if they lose lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit, you have to remember these people are funded by people like Bloomberg and Soros and all. Like Bloomberg is the largest contributor to anti-gun measures in America. He's got billions of dollars. He spent 1.3 billion of his own money on his presidential campaign, and the only place he won was American Samoa. So he can spend money and not even notice it gone. Now, the gun manufacturers will get tied up in lawsuits. Even if they win constantly, the cost of defending them will bankrupt them. You know what I'm saying?
That's what sucks about not having a loser pay system.
Exactly. Well, I mean, we do have a loser pay system. It's just not, like, if they, let's say they sue, I don't know, Smith & Wesson, right? And they take the lawsuit up until the day before it's supposed to go to trial, and then they drop it, the court can't enforce them paying back the legal costs because they dropped the lawsuit. There's no remedy needed. You know, it's only if it goes to court and Smith & Wesson wins, and then the court says, no, this was a nuisance lawsuit, and then gives them defense fees back. But if they just drop the charges right before, they'll constantly, they'll just bankrupt the industry, which is what Biden wants. It's much easier to make it impossible to get a gun than it is to just ban them outright. Because at that case, like, if the gun manufacturers still want to manufacture and still want to sell guns, the insurance policies they'll have to take out to defend themselves against these lawsuits will be so astronomical that a gun that costs you an average of, let's say, $700 now would probably go up to $2,000 before you could even blink an eye. So how accessible are guns if they're $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 each? You know, it gets to the point where, like, you're buying a gun like you're buying a car, where you have to fucking get, you know, like, financing and all of that. And I mean, obviously he wants a federal registry, which, I mean, is problem. The fact that they want to know where the guns are is problematic in and of itself. Why do they need to know?
I thought they already had a federal registry.
No, there's no federal registry.
Huh.
The only thing they have is the federal background check system. Now, in theory, and obviously, like, not trusting the government on anything, in theory, when a check comes through the federal background system, they check it, they send the results to in most states to the gun store. In my state, they send it to the state police. Now, in New Jersey, we have full registry. So it doesn't matter. They're registering the purchase no matter what. But in most states, the gun store doesn't keep records of your approval or disapproval. It gets destroyed. And in theory, they're supposed to at the federal level too, that after they do the background check, it gets thrown in the garbage and deleted. They've done their job and it's not supposed to be kept on record. If you believe that, I've got a fucking bridge to sell you. They probably do keep it on record and, you know, you'd be fucked anyway. But in theory and in law, they're not supposed to. But let's keep going. Biden wants to reinstitute the assault weapons ban, right? Plus add more. He's already said he wants to add the AR-15 and the AK-47 and all things like that because he calls them weapons of war, which is fucking ridiculous. But so you'd see an expanded assault weapons ban, which would probably ban the AR-15. It would probably ban the AK-47. It would ban the Uzi. It would ban the Galils. It would ban all of those things. Plus, if you did have them and they were grandfathered in, you would have to register them federally, which, means that a ban is coming anyway. Because then sooner or later they'll just announce that whole voluntary buyback shit like they did in Australia, which isn't, if they're forcing you to get rid of it just by giving you a couple bucks for it doesn't change the fact that they're banning it.
Right.
But his big two other things is what he wants to, one, make it mandatory that gun manufacturers include smart gun technology, which is like those fucking fingerprint readers on triggers, where it'll only shoot if it registers your fingerprint, which is A, they don't really work. And B, what again, if you're looking at an added cost per gun of at least like $500. So
Yeah.
Again, you're making it physically impossible for people to do it. He wants all ammo sales to be tracked and registered, so that every time someone orders ammo, that transaction is recorded and sent to a federal source. He wants to ban high-capacity magazines, which is anything over 10 rounds, which would mean that most magazines made today would have to be thrown in the garbage, unless he grandfathers in the ones that you had. But they would, in theory, remember, all this is in theory as well. So, because, if you've bought 130-round magazines, and they announce tomorrow they're all illegal, and you just never get rid of them, oops, I lost them in a hunting accident, or, oh, I threw that away years ago because it broke. There's not much they can do,
Right.
Anonymous Watcher 37, Blue State Survivalist. If they're banning AKs, does that mean they'll seize them from joggers? No. The whole point of all of these laws is they only apply to people like us. People that have illegal weapons are already violating the law. Like, there's no evidence whatsoever that they'll be like, oh shit, now that guns are illegal, I better turn them in. What? No, they won't.
Criminals don't obey the law anyway. I
Right.
mean, remember that time this alderman had approached Lori Lightfoot, aka Beetlejuice, about
Bolshevik Beetlejuice.
Yeah, Beetlejuice. Well, he approached her about these gang members in the streets with AK-47s, during the riots and so forth. And she says, like, what are you going to do about them? And then she's like, thank you. Next question. They don't even want to address it. They say, you're what? And then he came back at her and he said, no, you're full of shit and you're illogical. That was basically her response.
Well, that's what Democrats do. Republicans can't get away with that shit, but Democrats can. Democrats can get away with, when they're asked a question by the media that they don't like, they just ignore it. And when they move on, nobody presses them on it. Okay, so I don't know what this is. So anybody from California, or if you know, Shogun, you can answer this question. Gumby91 for $3. Our California handgun roster is very unconstitutional. What's your opinion on that? I don't know what the California handgun roster is. If it's like here, where you just have to register. Here in New Jersey, the process is you have to apply for an FID, which is a firearms ID card. That's to buy any shotgun, rifle, or ammo. Like, you can't buy those things without an FID card. But if you want to buy a pistol, every single pistol you have to file for an individual permit for an actual handgun permit for that specific pistol. Now, you can file for 3 permits at once, and it used to take like a week to get your answer on a pistol permit, which they basically just do the same background check they do for everything, and then they send you the pistol permits. It used to take a week, but because of the flood of new buyers, it's now taking like 2-3 months. So I still have 1 left, but my problem is I still have 3 guns waiting for me at the gun store, because I can only pick up 1 every 30 days. So I have to actually, I'm glad he reminded me, I have to actually fill out for a few more permits today, which will probably take 2 months. But have you heard of the handgun roster? I would assume it's that's very similar in New Jersey, that you have to individually file for permits and register.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Someone said the handgun list in California, you can't buy guns that aren't on that, which they've been reducing the number of guns on the list. Huh. So here in New Jersey, they don't ban handguns. There's no... we have 10-round magazines. Like, every gun has to be outfitted with 10-round magazines. But even if it comes with a 30-round magazines, they can alter it before they like they don't have if they don't have to say, well, this gun isn't made with a 10-round magazine, because they'll just they can alter it. They can fill it with foam or whatever so that it only accepts 10 rounds. You know, but they don't ban handguns here. Actually, like you can't. I don't think that there's. I mean, I've never had a problem buying any handgun here. I mean, they have issues. You can buy a threaded barrel, but it doesn't matter because suppressors are illegal here. So even if you buy it with a threaded barrel, which is made for a suppressor, it doesn't matter because the suppressor itself is illegal. But I guess technically, if you're taking it into another state. Like, I mean, there's a service. I only recently found out about this, but it wouldn't matter for me anyway. But I had asked a buddy of mine, he shoots competitively. And I asked him because, I mean, how do you train? Because if all you can have is 10-round magazines and you're up against people with 30-round magazines, how do you train, you know, if you have to constantly reload? It places like a weird burden. And he said that he goes out of state to train all the time. And there's a service online, I forgot what it's called, where you can have your shit stored in a locker. Like it's specifically for people who are in gun restrictive states. So you can store like illegal, like weapons that would be illegal in your state, but not in the state you're in. So you can store them there. You can store your magazines. You can store like any like, I forgot what I'm losing my mind on the word, the drums. You could store like any drums or any packages, like you can do that, but for me it would be unrealistic because I'm not going to store my shit in, let's say, Pennsylvania when I don't really go to Pennsylvania very often. Like I'm not going to drive out to Pennsylvania just so I could shoot with a 30-round mag, you know. And I mean, quite realistically, here in New Jersey I can rent with like a gun that has a 30-round mag on it. So to me, that's cheaper to spend the $20 and rent it than to drive out to Pennsylvania and take it out of a fucking locker where I have it and all that. But that's what he does because he has to travel to competitions and he doesn't want to have to buy new fucking mags every single time he goes.
Yeah, that's but yeah, in that kind of scenario, I was actually considering buying property just out in the deep woods or something where I could actually, you know, train with these sort of things in case they do get banned.
So, I mean, I would suggest people doing that anyway. I forgot the name of it, but listen, and I will warn you now, giant disclaimer, that there are a lot of fucking scams out there. Okay, so be careful. I think this is it. This one I know people have bought through. Yeah, this is it. It's called ClassicCountryland.com. Now, I don't know which ones are good or not, but I know people that have bought through ClassicCountryland.com, and they sell land without credit checks. So you can buy a plot of land. Now they usually have, usually I would say that their plots are between like 4 and 10 acres, so they're not huge. Some of them are. Like you can get there. I'm looking at one right now that's 640 acres out in Nevada. But the majority of the tracts are like between 5 and 10 acres. They go for like 20, 30 grand. They're not unbelievably expensive. Now, you do have to call them and check with them because some of them are not buildable. Meaning they bought a huge parcel of land. They're allowed to sell it off piece by piece, but you're not allowed to build a house on it. So even if you own it, you would only be able to go to it and like camp. Or you might be able to build a log cabin, you know, that doesn't have like running water or electricity. Yeah, like you could bring a generator and you could build an outhouse, and you could have running water that's built on drums, but you're not allowed to connect to the system. But you can buy a plot of land, like if you can find one near you, like they have Oklahoma, Tennessee, Nevada, Missouri, Kentucky, New Mexico, Nevada. I said Nevada. And they're always adding some. So this is, I'll put the link in the chat. Like I know people who have bought through this company, and they go to their land all the time and use it, and it's marked, it's registered. There are a lot of scams out there though, where like you'll supposedly buy like 100 acres out in Wyoming or something, and then you show up to the land and they're like, "What are you talking about? Like, who are you?" You know. So make sure you're you're getting the shit registered. It's your property, all of that. But if you want to buy a land, like even if it's, let's say, 2 hours from your house, like I'm here in New Jersey, so let's say I found something in Pennsylvania that's 2-3 hours from me. I can buy 10 acres and just go out there and train all day long. That would be worth it to me, because even if I go once or twice a month, it's still a value, and the cost would probably be low enough that it's worth it. It's also good that, like, you know, in the case of an absolute fucking bug out collapse, you've got 10-15 acres somewhere where you could go set up a tent and hide. But, you know, if you're looking to build like your own thing, like buying 10 acres out in the middle of nowhere, probably not the best idea, because what are you going to really do with 10 acres when all's said and done? Like, you can't even like build up a defensible border on it. Like, if you're looking to build your own, like, as I hate this term, but if you're looking to make your own no-go zone, then you want to go in with like yourself or a couple friends and buy like 100 acres, you know, or 150 acres or something big enough that you could fortify, and you can make it a pain in the ass to come get you. But if you're looking for a place where you could just camp and train and hunt and all of that, then there are lots of services out there. And as I said, there are a lot of scams, so be careful. But I know ClassicCountryland.com, which I should, for the amount of time I promote them, I should ask them for a sponsorship. But I know they're good. I know people that have bought through them that have been very happy. And two of the people I know who bought through them had like literally the shittiest credit that you can possibly imagine. And they're willing to sell tracts with no credit. It just has a bit of a higher interest rate. And it's not even that much. It's like the difference between like 3% interest and 5% interest. It's not like people with good credit get 3% interest and people with shitty credit get 30%. It's not bad, you know, and it'll affect your down payment. Like, I think the no credit ones, you have to make like 2 months down payment. So like probably like $500. And the ones where they do check your credit, you have to make like no down payment. But if you can find one and you're willing to go to it, and it's realistic that you go to it, then I see no problem with that. But again, if it isn't a place where you can build, then you should probably be careful, because you can't store shit there. Like, even if you put, like, unless you bury it in the ground, but even then you're leaving it open that someone else could find it and fucking steal it from you.
Well, yeah, that's useful information there.
And someone just said move to Florida because their gun laws are fantastic. Here's the thing. Florida seems to be turning into a haven for right-wingers. Like, I wouldn't even classify it as a swing state right now. Like, it's pretty solid Republican. It's been going solid Republican for a while. They have pretty good gun laws. They do have red flag laws, and it has been used against people. So it's not like they have them and just aren't using them. Like, people are using red flag laws in Florida. But they also have some of the best castle doctrine, stand your ground laws that there are. And the Florida governor recently announced he's going to expand the castle doctrine that you can defend your business against rioters and looters with deadly force. So that's another thing. For me, I couldn't take the heat. Like, the heat, the Jurassic Park-sized bugs, the fucking crocodiles and shit, like, that's not for me. And if I was going to move like that far from home anyway, like from New Jersey, I would probably rather go west, go to maybe Oklahoma or fucking Idaho or something like that. But I'm just telling you, like, Florida is becoming a real option for a lot of fucking people.
Yeah, my biggest concern about Florida is that you have all these people from the blue states moving there, and will eventually turn it blue, because I've heard people say that you have all kinds of people from New Jersey and New York moving there. I mean, I'm sure that's been happening for a long time now. And they may just start implementing all those things they voted for there. The tech sector here, I don't know if it's growing or what, but it's the thing I noticed is that the more prosperous a state gets, especially when it starts having a tech sector, that starts attracting leftists, because a lot of programmers and stuff like that, like in the tech sector, they just tend to be leftists, and
sure.
That is my concern.
But there's two things that you have to realize about the tech sector. One, because it's centralized in Silicon Valley, it attracts, like, the people who are in tech that are right wing, either move to Silicon Valley and fucking just keep it completely to themselves, right? or they just don't get involved in like those tech jobs in the first place. They get a job at a hospital doing IT, or they work for like a small startup somewhere that isn't located in Silicon Valley, or they do like just a lot of small contracts. Like those, that's a real thing. But they're saying now that Silicon Valley is, I mean, basically California's locked down again. So with all of these lockdowns, they're saying that more and more and more people are starting. And I want to address this real quick before we go. I just read that Deutsche Bank did a study for the government, and Biden's already talked about this study, so we know it's something they're considering. They want to put a 5% tax on all of the people who work from home to compensate for all the people who can't afford to work from home, i.e. the jogger community, and to give them money and to offset all the costs. But what really makes it odd to me is by working from home, you're already offsetting costs. They don't have to have an office for you. They don't have to have a computer. They don't have to have premises insurance for you. They don't have to offer you like a desk and all kinds of fucking coffee and bathrooms and electricity. Like you're paying for all that shit basically yourself at home. But they do want to do that. But before I digress, Florida has always been a big place where people from I don't know about California, but New York and New Jersey go to. Right now, there's also always been a pretty good. There's also been a high amount of scams. Like, I mean, there's a place in Boca Raton they call like Scam Alley or something, and that's because they have really, really amazing homestead protection in Florida. Now, what is homestead protection for those that don't know? No matter how much money you have invested into it, no matter how big, no matter how gaudy, they can't take your house in bankruptcy. So they also can't take your house, I mean, in state criminal charges. So let's say you're Bernie Madoff, right? You're running a total pond, like you've stolen tens and hundreds of millions of dollars. They can seize your bank accounts, they can seize your boat, your helicopter, your car, all of that. But let's say you've got a $20 million house. They can't take that. So a lot of people are very, even people that aren't scamming people, but they're afraid of, they could be accused of something later, or they could say their product was negligent later. A lot of people feel very comfortable that, okay, well, at least if I have my house, they can't take that. But, I mean, New York, New Jersey, like Connecticut, those people have always been going to Florida. I mean, fuck, Trump just did. Trump's main address is in Florida now. He's a citizen of Florida. He doesn't live in New York anymore.
Nice. Good for him.
Mm-hmm. But, I mean, from right now, one of the hottest spots, I was looking at it for a while, but I'm shying away from it at this point because specifically what you just said. Nashville has been very up there in people moving. Texas, obviously. Arizona. Nevada. People have been moving to Nevada. Like, California's seeing mass exodus to surrounding states. So New York, New Jersey, I mean, here in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut, we've had this weird thing where people from New York are moving to New Jersey and Connecticut because they want to get out of the city. And people from New Jersey are leaving and going to Pennsylvania, Maryland, Florida, places like that. But I think you're going to keep seeing it because, I mean, look, I can't predict the future, but if Biden does become president, it won't matter, and you'll see the exodus back to the cities because the federal government will bail them out. But as of right now, like, they're going to financially collapse in the next 6 months if they don't get a federal bailout. Like, all of their years of welfare spending and ridiculous, like, they couldn't handle COVID-19. Like, they're broke. We're going to be going over an article tomorrow in the Constitutional, like, the fucking Whitmer Hitler in Michigan. She has straight up said, I'm locking you down, but I am not able to give any help whatsoever to individuals or small businesses. We're strapped. We have no more money.
I'm glad I don't live in those states.
Yeah, fuck that. I mean, me too. I mean, I'm in New Jersey, but again, like, we don't notice a lot of the bad shit in New Jersey. Like, obviously the gun laws are terrible. And I mean, like, even when Trump came out with that expanded unemployment insurance where you can get like the $300 or $400 a week, my wife's on unemployment. So, like, our governor didn't take it for months, even though people, like, we have the highest rate of unemployment in the country. You know, like, because he just wanted to, like, say fuck Trump. And then, like, eventually he had to take it or it would have been a fucking coup. But you know, it's a thing. Like, living here sucks. And I can't wait to get out and go somewhere.
Yes, as New Jersey, like I said before, it's the #1 state that people are leaving.
It's always been like that, just so you know. It's misleading to say it's like happening now. That's always been the case. Like, it's for the last 20 years, it's been the highest outflow. But I mean, we're the highest in everything. We're the highest in property tax, the highest in insurance costs, the highest in fees, the highest in everything. So, okay, guys.
I don't even see.
Wait, what was that?
I'm sorry. I just don't even see the appeal in living in New Jersey. That's just me, though.
Number one, it's comfort. You're used to it. Like, obviously, I feel comfortable here because I grew up here. You know, so man lighting for $3. There's also landwatch.com. Again, I'm not saying I don't know anything about landwatch.com because I don't know anybody that's bought there. But that could be another one. Kenneth the Dude for $5. You are correct about Florida and the Homestead Act protection. It's capped at $200. You're incorrect about Florida and the Homestead Asset Protection. It's capped at $250,000. I'll have to look at that because I've heard that that's not true. So even Tom was just on recently saying it's not true. So I'll have to look into it. But that very well, I mean, maybe they changed that, but we'll have to see. But again, for New Jersey, for me, I'm just comfortable here because I grew up here. I know like the landscape. I know what it's like. I know I can get along with the people fine enough. And also, I mean, it's always been the case. There's a lot of jobs here, you know, and they're decent paying jobs. So it's just always been comfortable. But now it's become untenable. Okay, guys, we got to run. Shogun's got to get back to work. I got to get back to work. Yes, I will be doing a show tonight at 9:00 with Joe Cotto. We'll be talking about election statistics and all of the fuckery. He is very much of the opinion that Donald J. Trump has got this, and he'll be going over some of his reasoning why. That will be at 9:00 on both channels. Shogun, you'll be on the Morning Constitutional tomorrow, right?
Yep, I'll be there.
Awesome. So you'll have me, you'll have Shogun, you'll have TFM, and whoever else turns up. We'll be going. I have so many good articles for tomorrow. So if you're in the TFM server, go check out the fucking article links because it's going to be fun tomorrow. Shogun, you got anything?
As far as like articles go?
No, you got anything that's coming up? Like any new videos on your channel or anything?
Well, I want to do California Blues Part 3. It's just not. It's either I'm too busy and more data comes in, or like just like I was just saying before, out Frontier lost one of my bags. I lose my equipment, or I just have no private place to record. It's just been all kind of stuff just stopping me from doing that one video that people say that they want to see. Oh yes, and I want to do another Seattle video if I can.
Well, looking forward to that. Guys, for now, unless I'm talking about something like that I obviously know will get me in trouble, I'm going to keep these videos up on YouTube for a while because I just don't care and I want to give people the opportunity because BitChute keeps getting fucking demonetized and kicked off and their platform is really like having a lot of problems. So I'm going to keep this stuff up on YouTube for a while. As I said, unless we say something that I absolutely know will get us in trouble. So you can check this out there. I'll be uploading it to BitChute as soon as I can. Thanks, Shogun, man. I really enjoyed this.
Anytime. I really appreciate it.
We will talk soon, guys. Take care.
My fellow Americans, tonight I am speaking to you because there is a growing humanitarian and security crisis at our southern border.
In all honesty, a border wall or steel slats won't work. But great bodies of water will separate us from the horrible Mexican rapists. Introducing the 2019 Trump Great Border Moat. Stocked with the most aggressive penis fish, incredible man-eating alligators, and unbelievable genetically modified moose-cocked rape dolphins, as well as flying, migrant-eating sharkfish. So incredible.
I swore to protect our country, and that is what I will always do. So help me God. Thank you and good night.